Okay, I'd like to call this regular meeting of the Board of Selectmen for Monday, March 11th to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And I apologize this evening. I have a bit of laryngitis. Any public comment this evening? No public comment? Okay, moving right along. First Selectmen's report. I want to thank Senator Carlo Leone for holding a community conversation this past Saturday morning at the Darien Library. Representative Terry Wood will be hosting a gathering this Thursday evening from 7 to 8:30, also at the library. And Senator Bob Duff will host a meeting on Monday, March 18th from 7 to 8:30 at the library. So greatly appreciate the presence of our state legislators here in Darien. I want to bring to your attention two more significant pieces of legislation. House Bill 7319, an act concerning the fiscal independence of school districts, which would turn school districts into independent educational service taxing districts that would have exclusive power and authority to set mill rates, assess and collect taxes, borrow and bond, and appropriate monies for all educational expenses with no administrative input or oversight by town boards of finance or legislative bodies. So that one is causing tremendous consternation statewide. I've sent an inquiry to the Board of Education to ask for their comment on that.
Who are the sponsors?
That is a bill coming out of the Planning and Development Committee.
Thank you.
And House Bill 7192, which is an act concerning municipal and regional opportunities and efficiencies, which would merge the tax assessment and collection departments within municipalities, create new revaluation zones along COG boundaries with all data input done at the COG level, more or less taking on the back office data entry functions. Local assessors will still mail income and expense statements and personal property declarations. The proposal also has COGs entering building permit and deed transfer data into the COG hosted database. It's anticipated that local staff would be redeployed to work at the COG level, perhaps. OPM wants to have all this data readily available to them for legislative purposes without having to make inquiry with 169 local assessors and collectors. Also, tax collectors will no longer be elected, but will be appointed by the town's governing body. Update on the bridge over I-95 at exit 9 under the state's accelerated bridge program. The new bridge you see being built in the on-off ramp area will be moved into place between June 1st and June 8th. That should be a fascinating process. And I'm waiting on an update on the Norotan River Bridge. I'll report back as soon as I get that. Kate, were you planning to report on the parking wait list tonight?
No.
Okay, then I can. So Anne took care of our parking wait list renewals, and 581 people have come off of our wait list. 113 of those received applications, I believe, for parking spaces, and 468 came off for non-renewal. So we have now in Norotan Heights a wait list of 768, and in Darien a wait list of 539. And please remember that tomorrow night, Town Hall Auditorium, is the Board of Finance public hearing on the town budget.
Jamie, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
First, thank you so much for the updates on all of the activity in Hartford.
Mm-hmm.
With Terry coming and Bob coming, I'm sure people can ask questions, but do you have any other suggestions for people at home that listen to that as to how they can stay updated with what's going on?
Yeah, that's no easy task. I think there were 5,000 bills introduced this session, and they're all in various phases of going into committee and either being supported, rewritten, killed or moved out of committee, and public hearings have been going on for the last month. So you can go to the Connecticut General Assembly website, and certainly social media is a good place. We don't really have the capacity to keep pace with
Right.
the work that's happening in Hartford. I certainly would hope that our representatives have the ability to do that for us. So please reach out to your representatives. And again, as I mentioned, these two bills, you can find the language of the bills by going on to the Connecticut General Assembly website, and just at the bottom of the page, you can plug in the bill number, any bill number, and get the exact language, and you can see where it is in the process. So you can plug in 7319 for the independent school districts, and 7192 for the tax assessor collector bill, or any other bills. I am going to try and work on putting together kind of the short list of the ones that are really noteworthy, but it's going to take me a little while to put that together.
Well, and then we don't know what's going to happen in committee, so you can put it all together, and then it can end up coming out of committee a complete
Correct.
different bill with complete different language.
Correct. And then there's always the possibility, because many of these have a revenue component or a budgeting component, they could find their way into the budget implementer bill without any public hearing. So we'll try and keep pace with it, but I'll tell you, it's no easy task.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Two things real quick. We received word today that the State Board of Arbitration decided in our favor on the MPP that the police union had filed regarding the hiring of the civilian dispatchers. So that was very good news. And next week, we're having our budget development workshop with staff. So if you have a chance to complete the survey I sent you, just on the off chance that there's any suggestions you have that may impact what we want to talk to staff about, I would appreciate it.
Definitely get that done
And we
for
do
you.
plan to do a similar survey for the Board of Finance and the RTM after their rounds of the budget.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, new business, discuss and take action to approve the summer sidewalk sales. Boy, it's nice to be talking about summer already. So I'll read the motion. The Board of Selectmen hereby grants permission to the Darien Chamber of Commerce for Darien Sidewalk Sales and Family Fun Days to take place from July 11th, 2019 to July 13th, 2019, subject to the conditions detailed in the February 25th, 2019 letter from the zoning enforcement officer, which is attached. Always a very fun time. Mark, did you have a question?
I have a question about businesses that do not participate in the Chamber's program. What's involved in participating in the Chamber's program? Must you be a Chamber member, for example?
I think they have to be a chamber member. Yeah.
And what does that involve?
I think you pay a membership fee.
Do we have some idea of the relative size of that?
I don't, but I can certainly
And we can find that
find out
out.
for you.
Well, I don't know how much time we have on this, but, if it's, I don't know what deadlines we need what's the calendar to get this thing approved? We can do it tonight, clearly. Can we wait another meeting or two, or?
I don't see why not. Are you, so I take it that you're questioning that businesses that don't participate in Chambers programs cannot participate in the sidewalk sales.
That's
And
the
you'd like to know
question.
more about that.
That's right, and
Okay.
I don't have no firm position on
Sure.
that, but I'd just like to know. I'd like to know what some of the parameters are. Because I understand that the police are dealing with traffic and there's a lot of intense activity. But I also got the feeling that some of those people who might be disinvited might be very welcome by the population at Darien. So,
I'm sure they
Yeah.
would be. I think that it largely comes down to the cost of putting on the sidewalk sales and the administrative processes that require the financial support of the chamber?
I think it may have to do with insurance, but because this was a condition put on by the zoning enforcement officer, and if you, it says from a legal perspective and due to potential liability programs, we cannot permit that practice to continue. So I will touch base with David and find out what the issue is.
May I?
Certainly, like last year, when we were starting to promote the compost program, we were able to, you could pay for a table to get set up. So I just wonder if there are exceptions made if you're not part of the chamber, but could.
Yeah, so I think if you want to delay the vote, and I can check in
Sure.
with planning and zoning, why they've made that a
Right.
condition.
Good point.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
So
certainly,
you-
as the Democrat, the DTC gets a table, I'm sure the RTC gets a table, there's,
Right.
Yeah, let me check and find out why they've made that a condition.
okay.
It could have to do with nonprofits versus business, I don't know.
It may have to do with who's providing insurance.
Providing insurance, like you would have been covered likely by the town of Darien because the committee is a committee of the town, and those other entities can provide certificates of insurance, so,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, there's
we'll
not a time
follow up on
emergency.
that.
It's not for
Sure.
4 more months, so we can wait until
Okay.
the next
Thank
meeting.
you.
Yep,
Okay, good.
So,
yep, so we'll hold on that until our next meeting. All right, well then, we're already on to meeting minutes, regular meeting minutes of February 25th.
I've got a comment on one of them. Yes. No, the special meeting, sorry.
oh, you know what? It says
Yeah.
special meeting, but it should be
Should be regular.
regular.
Okay, well, that's the first correction.
Yep.
On page 3, Selectman Thorne, on paragraph, under new business, A, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4. About 3/4 of the way through, it turns out that the SRO in the high school has been helpful and feels would also be helpful at the middle school. I would like to insert, after the word feels, I'd like to insert an SRO.
Mhm.
Feels an SRO will also be helpful in the middle
Okay.
school.
Yep,
As long as you're on that page in the, in the main motion, the second line of the motion, civilian dispatchers with the understanding ing. And then, don't you want to indicate, motion passed 4-1, Ms. Barkman voted nay, or which, did she abstain?
If it was abstained, it would have been 401.
I didn't abstain,
No, I know you didn't.
yeah,
No, I'm just saying, don't you want to, okay.
I don't know.
So you're saying
Well,
that
if you want that,
No,
I
no,
know.
if you
because
say,
I-
if the way it's written is clear in your language, that's fine.
Clear to me, I don't know. If it's not clear to you, then we should
No.
put it.
Doesn't matter. On page 4, your second or third motion, where it says $100,000 set aside for the Opticon system
Yep, there's a
space.
space missing.
Thank you. That's all I have.
any other corrections, additions? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Mark? May I have a second? All those in favor? Great, thank you.
second?
Kip.
Thank you.
And then special meeting minutes of February 25th.
So moved.
Kip, may I have a second? Susan? All those in favor? Great, thank you very much. Okay, we have 2 appointments this evening. We have an appointment of R.J. Luth as an alternate to the Board of Assessment Appeals for a term ending on 12/31/2020, and an appointment of Danica Taryn to the Youth Commission for a term expiring on March 31st, 2021. May I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. And we have a reappointment of Peter Eder to the Commission on Aging for a term expiring on 3/31/2022. The reappointment of Sherry Green is held over for another meeting. Susan, may I have a second? Pam? All those in favor? Great. Thank you very much. Agenda review.
As the parking commission for the town, I think we need to talk about the impact of the boxcar application to provide the ability to reserve and pay for a parking spot wherever in town, and try to consider what that involves. It's sort of like, I think of it as Airbnb for parking spots. I think it's a wonderful thing for commuters. But there's some other aspects to it I'm a little concerned about.
Sure. So we can arrange for a presentation. They came to us, to Kate and myself.
Great.
And because we realize that it really impacts zoning decisions. You know, for example, you have a business or a not-for-profit entity that is perceived to have excess parking capacity that maybe could enter into an arrangement with Boxcar, but planning and zoning sets the rules around how many parking spaces a business can have. So we wanted to make sure that they were fully engaged. They came before the Planning and Zoning Commission and were given permissions to pursue parking arrangements on sort of as a what do you call it, a case-by-case basis, see how it goes for 6 months or a year in only certain locations. So we'll get you information on which locations were approved. Further, they're going to come in and have a meeting with Kate and I for us to talk with them about their capabilities in managing municipal-owned parking. So there might be more to the presentation.
Yes.
So we'll arrange for that.
Great.
Looking forward to that.
Sure.
They're doing something in New Canaan, right?
Yes,
They are
there
working
is
with New
some.
Canaan.
Yeah.
Yep. You know, churches are a very good example
Interesting.
you know, certainly in New Canaan, there's good proximity to St. Aloysius, to their train station downtown. We might have similar opportunities here, but yet what do you do on those days when there's a big event at a church that might displace parking? So it's an innovative idea for sure,
Certainly is.
and worth considering and giving it a test pilot. But we'll arrange a presentation, and then we can
Thank you.
bring forward any of your questions. Anything else? Okay, hearing nothing, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Pam,
Love that.
may I have a second?
Second.
Yep, all those in favor? Great, thank you very much. Hopefully,
Things to sign.
we'll see you tomorrow evening at the Board of Finance public hearing.
Yeah.